Hi, hello. Welcome to our channel. This is a new show. It's called BadruTalk, and it's kind of it will be one of those podcast slash my ranting place that I will talk about different things. Um, I've been wanting to do a kind of a series slash a show like this for a very long time, but I just decided to do. Is this gonna go far? I don't really know. I don't really know, or nor do I care. I would want it to go far, but it's just one of those things. I've been doing YouTube for a very long time, and I'm at a point now. I am just doing it because I want to do. I'm not. I've kind of grown so much. Um, and I don't get to do the things that I like doing because of responsibilities, and it just comes with growing up. Basically, you don't get to enjoy doing whatever you want because you have a lot of things waiting for you, responsibilities, um just being an adult. But anyways, this show is BadruTalk. I will be having some guests down the line, not that I know anybody now that will be joining my show. Not that I have anyone on the list, basically, but I would love to have people. They don't have to be known. I just would like to have people that would share their opinion, their thoughts on things. Anyways, if this is your first time watching this channel, or if I end up continuing this series for a long time and you're going back to watching first ever my first ever episode, well, I am bad, but my name is Badrudin, and I had this channel for a very long time. It's called BadruTuber, and this is the BadruTalk. And in the show, I'll be talking about different things. In this BadruTalk, I will be talking about different things, as it says on the name. I'll be talking about different things. I will try to open up more because there's things that I never ever see myself or saw myself talking about, which is really important, and it's kind of sensitive. Kind of balancing between having a deep conversation on things that matter and just having a light-hearted comedic episodes, or things to talk about, or memes, or cultural funny things, especially as a Somali. This podcast, as of now, will be heavily talking about cultural stuff, like growing up in Somalia. Just being it'll be more of a Somali slash relatable cultural content type of show. I don't want to call it a podcast because I don't know where this is gonna go. If it feels like ending the video in 15 minutes, I'll end it in 15 minutes. If it feels like 4 minutes or 5 minutes, maybe not 5 minutes, maybe 9 minutes, I'll end it in 9 minutes. It's not gonna be one of those forced 1 hour type of shows. It would be better if I had someone else that I could kind of discuss. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, like for example, growing up in Somalia, and I would want to have someone on the show that is Somali but grew up in another part of the world. For example, I grew up in Somalia. I am quote unquote what people would call nowadays a fob, right? And I would love to have someone, a diaspora, or say wallahi they call it nowadays, to have on the channel, and maybe someone that's from back home, and we can discuss on the cultural differences of, like, maybe growing up in Somalia or growing up in the West, and just see kind of the difference, because there is a barrier. I've noticed that there is a barrier between the fobs and the say wallahis, and it's kind of like a bad name, a bad term that people came up, but it's just, you get the point. People from back home and diaspora Somalis, there is invisible barrier that is very noticeable if you kind of have people on both sides, maybe friends on both sides, families on both sides, you actively talk to, you actively communicate with. There is a barrier between those two group of people, and it has a lot to do with, of course, different upbringings and all of that stuff. But I want to know the difference, because there's a lot, kind of knowing people from both sides, whether it's friends or family or relatives, and knowing people from both sides, I did notice, and I kind of lived through kind kind of experienced from both sides. I kind of have experience from both sides basically. And yeah, there's a lot of cultural differences. Not even just cultural. There's a lot of kind of, it's like a clan type of stuff. I don't want to say shit, but it's like a clan type of it has like a, what should I call it? A clan type of community, like where everyone will back their own. Like if I ask someone about, you know, what they think about, if I ask someone from back home what they think of someone that grew up in the West, what they think of Hoya Matalo, they have a different thought, like kind of like a superiority complex. Like I know the word for it, but they kind of see it different. Maybe sometimes in a bad way or in a good way. Whereas if you do the opposite, they kind of see people that, you know, are from back home different. As in like I don't know if you guys get it, but you guys can put it in the comment section down below. Like both sides kind of look down on the other side. Like if you talk to someone from back home, they might look down on a quote unquote say wallahi. They might feel like they're dumber. They might feel like they're which is a real thing if you guys didn't know. They might think of you as like you're missing something up here, cause it's just different. Whereas if you talk to a quote unquote say wallahi, they would think people from back home, as they call it, fobs, are kind of the opposite. They would think of them being harsh, or them being kind of, you know, different. That's the best way I can put it, different. And they don't think they can relate to them, or they think they're somewhat dumber than. Each side sees the other side as being the dumber side, which is a real thing, which is actually a real thing. So I would love to, like, maybe down the line have people on both sides that, you know, we could talk about the differences and what unites us as Somali, regardless of where we grew up. China, India, Somalia, Kenya, US, UK, Sweden, and just kind of talk about the differences. Like, I want to see from the perspective of someone that grew up in Sweden, a Somali boy that grew up in Sweden, and a Somali boy that grew up in the UK or the US, and a Somali boy that grew up in Somalia. Like, I want to see the differences growing up from like different parts of the world, and I kind of want to like have people represent, because I feel like depending on where you grow up, it's completely different. How you think is different. The way you see life is different. How you think of other people is different. And it's kind of like a cultural clash. And it would be so fun to sit down with people from different sides and just talk about things. Just talk about it. That would be so fun. That would be one of my goals down the line, inshallah, to do. And other things is like, especially from, I can just talk about myself for now. Like growing up in Somalia, kind of living in the era of the internet, which it's kind of like a special phenomenon. I grew up in Somalia, but I share similar views or similar experiences with both sides. Like, for example, I could speak English fluently at the age of like 11 years old when I never left Somalia, or at best I was in Kenya for like 2 months. And I want to talk about like my personal things that I felt vulnerable to talk about for a very long time. I just kind of want to feel vulnerable with you guys, but it's just something that would take time, and I find it, I just want to get it off my chest. Of course, it helps now that I'm not, you know, big on YouTube, and there's probably going to be like 100 people watching this. So it feels kind of therapeutic just to get things on my chest, upbringings, things that I had to go through, like losing a loved one, moving to like, for example, I moved to Turkey, like moving to a new country. I moved to Turkey while living my whole life in Somalia and Kenya, where it's completely different to like moving like Turkey, for example, and just seeing different people, different cultures, different standards on how to live and how to carry yourself. And while not even adjusting to it fully, losing a loved one, losing your mother, my mother. I lost my mother 3 years ago while I was new to Turkey, and like it was kind of like a wake up moment. I went from moving to Turkey, a new country that I, kind of the system that I know nothing about, to losing my mother who was taking care of me fully. I went from having no worries in the world, not having to worry about what to eat or rent or utilities or none of that stuff, just like a regular teenage kid. But I wasn't a teenager at the time. I just left my teen. I just hit 20 years old to losing my mother. It was different. It changed my life. It changed my life. I went from having to worry about nothing at the age of 19 to losing my mother while I just literally arrived in a new country that I know nothing about, the system and all of that stuff, with to getting married within 3 years and starting uni, and I'm about to finish my uni in a year. It was like a wake up call, and I had to worry about things I never used to worry about, like flipping paying bills. I didn't even used to think about bills. It seems like something far away, and it has something to do with my upbringing is like growing up in Somalia. People tend for better or for worse, people, especially like Somalis from back home, men are. It's not like they move out once they hit 18 years old. I don't think people in the West do that as well, but it's just the idea. The only time a Somali man will move out from his mom's house will be by the time he's getting married. Same for a Somali girl. Same for girls and boys and girls. The only time they move out is, especially from back home, is when they are getting married and when they're starting a new life and all of that stuff. So long story short, I went from losing my mother, the most painful experience in my life, to now having to worry about my my expenses, my living expenses, while not having a work, while not having anything to support myself, to now thinking about myself and my little sister and how to. If it was in Somalia, it would have been less less kind of confusing, less painful, and figuring out how to live life and survive in a foreign country that nothing about the system of. Alhamdulillah, things worked out, but it is something that kind of had a quick shift of my mindset. It was very painful, but I ended up starting a uni, and forming a bond with a friend that I've had for a long time, and losing that friend this year. From 3 years, I went from losing my mother to getting married, finding the love of my life, and losing my friend who helped me who helped me grieve my mother's loss, and who helped me with getting married. I remember me going to the store and sending in pictures of a ring that I got from my wife, and I was sending it to him just to ask more details, and because he got married the same month as I did. The friend I'm talking about is a content creator, someone that we kind of, for the first time ever, I felt like we were aligned. This just thinking about it kind of makes me emotional. Me growing up in Somalia, being in this digital era of growing up, watching social media, watching people like KSI, or just living on this online era, having different passions to regular kids that grew up in Somalia, like making content, for example, or playing FIFA, or just maybe watching things on the internet, people like people posting things on the internet. Like it's just one of those things. Like it was very hard for me personally to find friends that have the same interests as I do, whether it's making content, whether it's making money online, whether it's when you're a little 11-year-old being a YouTuber or a footballer, or just having friends that kind of align or have the same interest in you. I never had that type of friend. I never had it. I never had that. It was very hard for me to find a friend. I mean, I did have friends. I had people that I go out play football with. I had people that I go out to parties or whatever, but I never had someone that I could be like, I'm interested in doing this thing, or friends that basically have the same interest as me. But Bakr, Allah yarhamah, he passed away this Ramadan, was the only friend in my life that had the same interest in me, whether it's making content, whether it's making money online, whether it's getting married at a young age, or it felt like everything came so natural, and we were so aligned. We pushed each other so far. There's a lot of things I can talk about, but going back to the story now, to him helping me grieve my mom, being with me all the time, and us kind of coping by making videos. There's a lot of, I think there's a vlog on YouTube. There is a vlog on YouTube where we're going to going bowling, all that stuff. Basically, to him fully helping me grieve my mother's loss, to him helping me get married. I remember, I don't think I've ever told this story to anyone, but I remember me talking to my current my wife's father, and I was so nervous, and I would call him and be like, I'm planning to call her father and ask for her hand in marriage. I'm just being so nervous and just talking to him, because he was going through the same thing as me. I feel like we were living kind of the same life, a mirrored life. The same time I was worrying about talking to my current wife's father, he had the same type of mirrored life. He had someone that he wanted to marry. He was kind of in the same, he wanted to talk to her dad. We were both discussing it. What do you think they're gonna ask? How do you talk to girl? I remember personally going to YouTube and searching up how to talk to a potential a girl that you want to marry's father, Islamic way, and watching Mufti Meg, and we would just discuss different things. I remember just talking to him, or him calming me through that whole phase, and keeping me grounded, to me sending him pictures of the ring that I want to get my wife, and because he already have gotten a ring for his wife, and because we were both getting married in the same month, and him moving. While all that was happening, he was in Turkey. He moved to Egypt, and after all that happened, hearing about his death, this Ramadan. And the funny thing is, I was talking to him 2 nights before he died. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. Just losing a loved one, especially losing my mother, was something that drastically changed my life. She was in every part of my life, even making content. There's videos. If you go back to my channel, there is videos, especially, like, for example, I can just name it one video, the language video, that my mother had that she put a comment on, and I did not notice it until after she died. And I went back to the video and I saw her comment, and I have a screenshot of that comment emailed to myself just for memory. I mean, of course, it's written, it's qadr, it's none of it, we can't control it, but I would have wished, at least for her to see me when I somewhat made something of my life. I would have wished for her to be, meet my current wife, or be there for my wedding, or because I felt like throughout my whole life I was kind of like a burden. I wasn't giving nothing back. She was taking care of me. She was feeding me. till I was like 19 years old, 20 years old. No, I hit 20 after she passed away, but I was like 19 years old. She was taking care of me my whole life, and it felt kind. Just one regret that I have is just I couldn't give nothing back, or she couldn't see some highlights of my life before she died. It's one of those things that really get me and really bothers me to this day. And one of my dreams would have been just to kind of, even if I didn't become rich, or if I didn't get her, or if I didn't take her to Hajj, or if I didn't buy her a house, just for her to be there for me, or just for her to be there when, like, the big moments of my life, like me getting married, or me graduating. My mom used to see me make videos. I remember going to my mom's room, taking her garbasar and putting it on just to do a skit. She saw me do all of that stuff. Even though I kind of found it cringy that my mom would watch my videos or see the things or the skits that I do. But at the time I felt cringy, and didn't want my mom to watch my videos, especially the YouTube videos. But she would watch it and comment, like put a very nice and adorable comment, being like, "I'm proud of you, my son." Da, da, da. It's one of those things that when you live in the moment, it feels cringy, but when you look back at it, it's like one of those things that you adore. And I would wish one day, I really wished one day for her to like be there for me, even if I just see me go through life, even if I of course my ultimate goal was to make her proud, and see me be successful, especially on that side of like making content, because she used to watch every single video that I post, especially the YouTube videos. She always believed in me, and I felt like it was a kind of a letdown that I didn't get to be someone. Oh, this is gonna get deep. It kind of felt like a letdown that I didn't get to be someone who she can be actually proud of. Things happen. People do different things, and people, not everyone makes it. But it's just one of those things. Of course, she would be always proud of me. It would have been a different story if she passed away while she saw me become someone, or at least be there and see me on the day that I was getting married, or the day that I graduated my university, or like at least see something like she can be proud of. But it never got to that point. And everything's written, but it just felt like she just gave so much, and I gave nothing back, which it just hurts so much. But everything's written. We move. This is how I cope with things. Just things happen, man. Don't dwell on it. That's how we grew up back home. Is that we're not, it doesn't change anything. You moaning about it doesn't change anything. I lost someone that was very close to me, and it made me realize things that really matter. And when I met my wife, even though I had no money, I went from my mom paying for everything, and just moving from city to city, house to house after she died, barely scraping to survive, to finding the love of my life while having absolutely nothing to my name. But since I had that loss before, it was maybe kind of an attachment issue. I just could not see myself losing someone. Maybe not losing them because of money, like maybe not being able to make this person mine because of money, because you can't talk to someone for like 4 or 5 years without being committed to them. So yeah, I don't know how it worked, how it happened, but that could be a whole separate video. But alhamdulillah, I remember talking to her mom, talking to her dad, her and her mom flying out to Turkey to see me while I literally had nothing. But I made things work, and alhamdulillah, Allah, wallahi billahi, everything is because of Allah. I did not know how it happened, but alhamdulillah, I worked hard. I tried to do things, make things happen, and Allah was just opening up windows for me, doors for me every single time, where I think, oh, I might have screwed up. How am I going to get this money? How am I going to get that money? How am I going to do this? But I would pray and just do something. I would pray, and next thing you know, two minutes after, I will get an email of a a new opportunity, a new work, or a new freelancing, or some random stuff that would not make sense. Like, I would pray and see an email of someone asking me to translate a document from Somali to English, and I would get $100 or $200 randomly. How did they get my email? I do not even know. They might have got it from my Fiverr profile, or my email that I put on my TikTok, or you will not know. It's just the power of dua and the power of qadr, and the power of Allah making things happen because you have the right intentions. That happened. All of that happened within the span of 3 years. Even me talking to you now, I'm about to graduate next year, which is crazy. Or maybe 2 years. Next year and one more summer. Yeah, maybe 2 years. But that is actually crazy. So, yeah. That was quite the introduction. My name is Badrudin, by the way. I am 23 years old. I live in Turkey. I grew up in Somalia. I only lived in Somalia and Kenya and Turkey now my whole life. Some people think I lived in the West. Some people think I lived in the UK or the US because I can speak somewhat of it good English. No, I lived in Somalia and Kenya. I lived in Somalia my whole life, apart from 4 years that I was in Kenya, and I'm now in Turkey for 3 years. So technically I was in Turkey the same amount of time that I was in Kenya, which doesn't seem that much now. But yeah, you might be wondering, how did I learn English? We live in a digital world. All I consume is English. Every movie that I watch is English. Every article that I read, not that I read articles, like everything that I read, whether it's a tweet or what else do people read? I don't know. Everything that you consume nowadays is just English, so it's not really that hard to learn English. Or you could say I have a good brain with learning languages. I'm actually kind of fluent in 5 languages. No, not really. Now it kind of went back down to 2, Somali and English, a little bit of Turkish. And if I leave Turkey in 2 months, I'll probably forget Turkish as well. So it's just more of that's kind of off topic, but yeah, that's kind of an introduction of who I am. And hopefully I will be having more guests, inshallah, if anyone is willing to come on my channel and entertain my 3 viewers. Inshallah. I will try to have different people on. You don't have to be famous to come on. If you're one of my friends and you have different perspective on actually want to talk about things, you can come to my account. You can come to my house. We can make a video. You don't have to be ageishable to be on my. If you're ageishable and you're watching this, you can come. People call me ageishable 24/7 anyway. You might as well sit here and do my videos now. Yeah, this is a quick introduction to this brand new series, BadruTalk podcast, or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, maybe next episode, starting from episode 2, I will have more structured topics. This was a kind of a random get to know me, or a random episode to start with. But yeah, I guess I really meant it when I said this is a ranting podcast. A low budget ranting podcast. Yeah, I meant it when I said it. And this will be the type of videos that I will be posting here. Not exactly this way. This is kind of like a Wild West. It wasn't structured, but starting from episode 2, it'll be more structured, and we will have guests, inshallah. We'll have a lot of guests, and we're gonna talk about topics that matter. Unlike every Somali person that does podcasts, they either talk about marriage or duck and Alice and all of that stuff. I will try to give you guys new perspectives. Yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys like this video. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and let me know if you enjoy this. I'm not really good at talking, and I feel like I will get better the more I talk. This is the first episode, and I'm probably gonna suck. It'll be very hard to watch. Well, if you made it to this far, I am genuinely shocked if you made it to this far. This whole thing would have a minimal edit. I'm not gonna try to, cut a lot of things. I'm just gonna keep it raw and authentic. And if you made it to this part, I don't know what to say. If you made it to this part, just comment I watched the whole thing so I can know. Wow. If you made it to this part, you're actually incredible. Unless you skipped and you just saw this accidentally, then I don't know what to say. You're an imposter. Anyways, with that being said, see you guys in the next episode, and thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Bye. Masalam.